Welcome to my kitchen. Today I am going to make the most succulent party in your mouth sandwich. I don't know what else to call it, but it's got pulled pork, it's got fig jam, sourdough bread, cheese, grilled onions, and oh my God, you layer that all, you put it in a grill pan, and then rather than having a panini press, I use a brick. And it's so much easier to store a brick than the panini pan that's on your countertop or in your cupboards. But oh my God, this sandwich is to die for. Okay, so I typically buy about 5 pounds of boneless pork butt, pork shoulder, it's the same thing. And I wash it off, I cut it open, and then I'm gonna brown it on both sides before I put it in the Instant Pot. What I do is I just sprinkle salt and pepper on it, and that's pretty much the only spice I use on it. Then I add some olive oil to the pan, just enough to coat the bottom, and I'm gonna put the meat in to sear for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. Don't overcrowd the pan because you need to be able to turn the meat. And then I coat the other side with salt and pepper. And I just wait the 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I cut up an onion that goes in the bottom of the Instant Pot. And it just adds more flavor to the apple juice and pork mix. So there you have your tray. You put the onions in on top of the tray, and then you're going to place your cooked meats over the top of that. Now make sure you have a cup of liquid. It could be anything you want. Chicken broth. I put apple juice in there because apple always complements pork. So I add a cup of apple juice with the onions. And when you cook with an Instant Pot, you always have to have 1 cup of liquid in it. So now this meat's ready to be put in. And I put the lid on to make sure that it seals. And then I'm going to put it on the meat setting at 55 minutes. Turn it on. And here we go. It's finished cooking. Look how succulent and juicy that is. I shred it in the bowl. And this is the base that I use for all sorts of things. The pork sandwiches, taquitos, tacos, enchiladas, the whole 9 yards. So now I'm making the sandwich, and I take the onion and I'm going to grill the onion so it gets nice and caramelized for the sandwich. I use avocado oil. I switch back and forth between avocado oil and olive oil. So now we've got the onions in the pan, and those are going to grill up while I assemble the rest of the sandwich. You want to make sure that those are nice and translucent when you put them on your sandwich. Now I'm preparing the sandwich. I've got a beautiful fig spread on one side of the sourdough bread. I think it tastes best on sourdough. I've got my shredded pork and I've got my caramelized onions. So here's some Monterey Jack cheese that I put on one side of the sandwich. I'll put it on both sides. Then I put some grilled onions on top of that. And on the other side, I'm going to put more cheese. I like to load up those onions. They're so delicious. Now I put more cheese on this side like I mentioned. So you've got cheese oozing out of both sides of the sandwich. And then you pile on as much or as little of the pork butt that you'd like. Eric likes a lot of pork butt in his sandwiches, so they definitely spill over with deliciousness. And then we're going to assemble the sandwich, putting one half on the other side. Because the pork's pretty messy on one side and there's a lot of pieces to it, I'm going to put the onion side on top of the pork side. There's just less of it that's going to fall off. We got the fig jam, we've got the onions, and we've got the pork and the cheese on both sides. And you got to flip it quick, otherwise, there you go. It could be disastrous. So that is going to get put on the pan now. It's going to be so good. Now I take one side of the bread and I use butter to coat the top piece of the bread. I only cook with Kerrygold. I think it's the best butter out there. There's some pretty good French butters, but I don't think anything compares to a salted Kerrygold butter from Ireland. So I coat the top piece of bread. That's going to go down first in the pan. And the pan's been heated probably about 3 or 4 minutes, so it's nice and hot. Just push down on the top, being careful you don't burn yourself. And there is the brick. You lay the brick on top. It acts as your panini press. And it's heavy enough that it does the job. You could also use a cast iron pot or something that's heavy, but I like the brick because you can change out the foil each time you use it, or you can just I'll use it 3 or 4 times and wipe the foil down. And then as you see it's starting to slip, I pull it off, and I have already flipped the sandwich once. Be careful when you butter the sandwich on the other side because the brick can get slippery. But just watch it, don't walk away from it. Look at that. Look at all those bits of cheese and fig jam and caramelized onions that came out of the sandwich that now make a little crispy crust around your sandwich. It's just delicious. Next up, we're going to open this sandwich up and you can see what it looks like on the inside. It is just mouth-watering. You could easily split this sandwich between 2 people, but Eric eats the whole thing himself, so there you go. Look at that. Be careful, it's really hot. Oh, I have kitchen gnomes. Oh my God, so good. To get my pulled pork Sammy under brick recipe, click the link below.